We're not on that channel tonight. We're on the DC Digital Media channel. Thank you.
Are we
Hello,
live now?
everybody. We are about ready to go with Nick and Tyra, and we're going to talk a little bit of Mental Health Awareness Month is May, and that can be so many different things. Last week we talked about some emotional health and dealing with some traumas and just coping with life and those kind of things. And then it was so heavy. Tyra said she had to go to Disneyland but couldn't get there, so she's been under her bed in a ball all week.
Oh
So
my
Nick,
God,
we're
I
gonna be
could use
nicer.
Disney.
We're gonna, yeah.
Disney
Well, can we all
so
though?
bad.
Can we all use a little Disney? It's just fun. So Nick has been on here before, but Nick has not met Tyra, and Tyra's not met Nick. So let's go
No.
through the introductions. Nick is a licensed therapist, and this is exactly how they do therapy, all in costume as character. Is so awesome. They pay extra for that, right?
So wonderful.
It's normally $200 an hour, but for Beetlejuice it's $400. So it's worth
I'm
it.
down with that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah. I do work a lot of cosplay and stuff like into my sessions and with people, but I don't show up in cosplay. At least I haven't yet. I would, but I have not yet.
And Tyra has been a friend of the track and has helped me out for years now. And you do a lot of social media and SEO work, and you're just a bubbly ball of sunshine.
Okay.
That says the F word a lot.
I do.
You know, so
I like to think of myself as Tinkerbell, but with the F word.
Excellent.
And if we get off track tonight, I already have this button ready. So there we go.
That's awesome.
We're ready to go.
Look
All right,
at
let's jump
Charles.
right into it. Of course, this is similar to what we do at the track. Hello, Kaz. Kaz was on last week, and that was amazing. So at the track, we have all kinds of content. And actually, Nick, you said 3 panels so far?
Yeah, as of right now, I'm on 3, yeah.
And one of those is yours, right? I think one of those is you pitch the Ask a Therapist.
Yep, creators ask a therapist. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that sort of like super just like open where people can just kind of like throw anything at me that they're struggling with, and we can just kind of take some time to play with it a little bit, workshop it.
I really should have put that in a room for 4 hours. I think is how that could have worked.
We'll need it.
Yeah, well,
I think
last year after one of the panels, I was there about an hour afterwards, standing outside talking to people. So yeah.
It's free basically. So anybody who's so Dragon Con is anything you want it to be, right? But a lot of us go there because it's our world. And so you're already open, you're connected, you're feeling yourself, and then you have somebody go, "Hey, I can offer you some help." And I might be dressed as the Hulk, but I'll do it. Or I'm still not different characters. Now, Riddler, you missed the Riddler last time, Tyra. Riddler was
your
really
Riddler
good.
costume is so awesome.
It's so fun. It's one of my favorites. Thanks.
It reminds me of like TV show Batman Riddler, which I mean in a very, very good way.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the better ones. Although the newest one with vampire guy, the Batman, I think.
Yeah, where Paul Dano was the Riddler.
Yeah, that was so good. He did a great twist on it. You like the path my mind went down there. I'm still getting back to why her panel is gonna be awesome at Dragon Con, and it's because you meet your people there. Everybody's dressed up as everything, and then you're going, "Hey, I can offer you some help." If you held up, you know how they have the cosplay medics that have the signs. If you had just ask a therapist side, you would never get anywhere at Dragon Con.
Yeah.
No,
if I
everybody
had
would
like
ask
mental
you
health
everything.
medic on my back, people would be stopping me every 2 feet.
Yeah.
I can't have you. You're ours.
I'm spoken for.
That's right. We're in a committed relationship right now.
But yeah, I'm very excited about that. And then you're actually on 2 other panels about mental stability in different aspects of creativity and condom. So I did it again. It says fandom. I said condom, like going to cons.
How do you?
It makes sense in my head. It's like a kingdom.
I mean, we need
con.
free condoms at the con, but
yeah, no. I could
Dirty
go
old
bad with the
man.
jokes.
That's what he
I
is.
could go
He's
bad
just a
with the
dirty old
jokes. I
man.
believe it. But it's you guys that really took. I mean, you could have just took it what it's meant as. This is a con, like a kingdom. It's a thing. All right, let's get into some questions here, some discussions. Everybody goes through some tough times, right, Tyra? Everybody has those streaks of frustration, and sometimes it's longer than that, and sometimes it's deeper than that. So, what's something that comes to mind when you think of mental health?
Oh, that I need to be better at it.
Okay, so Nick, that's a very good, Tyra.
We all need to be better at it. I think that we talk a lot about mental illness, but we don't talk about what mental health is. And it's like physical health. You need to keep yourself healthy. And how do you go about doing that? And so the first thing I think of is I have not been meditating like I should and breathing like I should and doing all the things that I know to do, but I'm not doing because I'm a hot mess express.
So Nick, we'll address that first. What's more important there in the statement, that she seems to want to be better at mental health, or that she thinks she's bad at mental health?
Well, I mean, I think, like self-awareness and stuff is like the first step in moving forward with bettering your mental health, because when you said like, what is the first thing you think of when you think of mental health, I immediately just thought of like self-awareness, right? Of just like, not just moving through life like I'm a robot, I'm here to do a job, but like realizing, oh, I'm a person. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind.
Can you, if you're aware of wanting to make mental health a priority, can you be bad at it?
Can you be bad at it? I mean, I think you can be really misinformed. And so I think a lot of times people will do things that they think is helping themselves, but is actually detrimental. And a really big example of that is a lot of people are like, okay, I need some self-care, so I'm going to isolate and lay in bed for 2 days, and they'll say like, oh, I'm doing self-care, when in reality there's like that term of like bed rotting or things like that, where they're not doing anything to actually help themselves and pull themselves out of their state. They're just like disconnecting, and a lot of times that does more damage.
Hiding from the world.
I was going the other way, which is I think also detrimental and does play into Dragon Con some, of retail therapy, right? Spending money you don't have to make yourself feel better in the moment, to then, or maybe you do have it, but it's earmarked, whatever, but then later you feel guilty about it. If you don't feel guilty, hey, I guess whatever works. But it's all that can be bad. We were talking about, so I asked Nick before we got started, so what do you do for fun? Not expecting some kind of TV show or anime, or it's like high class all the way. I was like, I don't want you on the show anymore, because Nick's like, I like to go outside and write and draw. I'm like, well, good for you, healthy person. I'd like to watch some more anime and drink.
What a therapist answer.
Yeah, but
I like to put my bare feet in the grass.
Yeah.
Oh, there's bugs. Okay.
Well, I guess if that's your first thought, maybe that's not for you. But I agreed. I said, man, I haven't put my bare feet in grass in a while because of the areas I live in, and it's not great. But that's something I'd love to get back to, like I used to do as a child. That had good yards, and you could just walk, and it was nice. But I was even saying, I like sitting out in my backyard, and I'll pull out a cigar as the sun's going down, and just something about being out in the sunshine, and then as it cools off and goes away, it's just, I don't know, it feels great. Tyra, when's the last time you sat out on your back deck and just chilled? Because it's a very nice back deck to sit out and chill on.
We have a great back deck. It's probably been a month right before Shane left to go out of town. We definitely want to do it more often. We just need to, I think our biggest thing is that we need to clean up the back deck some, because some people want to come over for some reason. I don't know why. But it really is a place of joy and peace when we have it all together, and I'm not looking at it going, oh yeah, Flossie the flamingo needs to go back where she was, and the 2 pelicans need to be, righted up after the storm and things like that. So it's been a while, and I'm ashamed. Okay, thanks, Charles.
You have to tend your bird sanctuary, I'm hearing.
Yes. I mean, we have a weird fascination with yard art. My husband wants a Bigfoot so bad. to put out in the back 40.
Yes.
Look,
So
I missed my
bad.
opportunity. There was this war monkey. It was a 5-foot tall, like concrete. I don't know why the person made it. It was out in front of like one of these stores where you buy stone and brick and stuff from for your gardens and whatnot. And it was like a 5-foot tall, almost Planet of the Apes like monkey with a sword and a shield and the helmet and the Roman armor. I'm like, I need that war monkey. And they just never bought it. And now it's not there anymore. But I think
Aw.
Shane would love the war monkey.
Shane would have loved that. Not as much as he would love a Bigfoot.
Well,
I-
he is looking for himself in everything he does.
It's true. My husband's very tall.
So.
He's a Yeti, is what I call him.
Can I say something to your comment? You were talking about like the retail therapy stuff.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
That's like a huge thing that I like to touch on with people, because especially like it's such like a pop psychology thing to be like, oh, well, I need a little treat, like, you know, I need to spend money for like everything, you know. And the thing is like, you know, as long as it actually is like nourishing you and helping you, it's a great thing. But if you're doing something in the name of self-care that then causes you a problem later, be that a financial struggle, be that a sense of shame and guilt and self-doubt, like if it has like negative repercussions on the other side, it's not actually self-care for you. And so like what might help one person might be detrimental for somebody else when it comes to like spending money or like buying things like that.
How do you differentiate? 'Cause I know when I am trying to get out of a bad spot, or I'm just in a place in life where I don't know where I'm at, I just say, okay, well, let me try something that Tyra likes and works for her, or let me try something. How do you differentiate when you're in it? I mean, if it feels good in the moment, like I don't go clubbing, but that could be a thing, right? So, hey, my friends would take me out drinking or clubbing, whatever. And sure, I'm going to try it. And in the moment, they're having fun, which helps me have fun. How do you differentiate if that's really what you need versus it was just kind of fun then?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you don't know in the moment until like hindsight kind of cues you into what your body's doing and what your body's wanting. Because a lot of times, like, we either end up in like, you know, when other people are around, we end up tuning out of our experience and tuning into their experience. And so some people don't even know how they're doing when they're with other people. And then they get by themselves and they're either like, that was great, or they're like, I am so exhausted and I will never do that again. But they don't have any like recognition of it while they're in it.
Sure.
And so that can be a tough thing to know in the moment, but I encourage people to like check in with their bodies once they are alone afterwards, and that'll tell you a lot about if you need to do that again.
I totally just pictured, me like in the mirror, like looking at myself, you good, body? You good? Was that all right, body? Yeah. I know what you mean. That self-awareness. How do I react after I feel more charged? Do I feel better? Tyra talking about your back deck being a mess, but it's this place you love.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Same for my studio here. It was a big mess for months, and it slowly got that way since Dragon Con. I just threw stuff in here and I didn't really put it away. And it didn't take, I think it took me at most 30 minutes to really sort everything, get stuff put away, move the boxes behind me, get everything relit, and all that's maybe 30 minutes. But I spent months in a negative space going, I need to clean that up. And then I didn't. Why do we do that, Nick? Why do we put off something that we know? Like if I've done it before, I've cleaned up my space, feel great, love it, proud of it, happy to have people look at it. Then I let it get bad. And then I just dread the cleanup. And why do we put it off like that?
Yeah. Well, sometimes stuff like that falls under like executive function issues. And it's really just like, I know how to do it. I know that I could do it, but I can't start. And like, some people do better on starting things if they just have another person in their space to just like bounce the energy off of, like body doubling or things like that. But like, yeah, for everybody it's different, but sometimes it's also with like anxiety of like, you have this voice in your head that's just kind of like, you're the worst for not cleaning this up. And then it's like, okay, I can't get past that voice and that anxiety and that stress about it. And so I'm just like perpetually ignoring it, because if I don't look at it, then it's not happening. And then I don't feel like crap. And so there's a lot of different reasons that it could come about, but it's a very real thing.
Yeah, that whole, what you just said about executive function, because I'm undiagnosed ADHD for sure. And peace, you got it. And having somebody else to bounce things off, like my husband and I, we do better when we're both working together.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes so much faster and so much better. I had the same thing going on with my office, which Charles has suffered through with me. But we're almost there. Unfortunately, you're seeing the one part that isn't almost there.
Right. That's always the part that is right in your face, though, isn't it?
I know. And I have we bought a painting. I have it, a real, like, real painting, and it's ready. It's framed and ready to go. We just didn't get it up because we had an air conditioner man.
It's a real painting. You totally can't see the numbers. It's good.
Like, it's an original piece of artwork. Most of ours are prints, so it's a different space.
I get that. I
love your artwork, Nick, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm at work right now. My boss has like such great taste.
See, I thought for some reason I thought you picked those out yourself. I can't remember. No. I know we talked about it last time, but I don't listen, so all fresh questions. It's all good. This is
so true.
I do listen in the moment. I don't always retain past the time that I needed to use it. Very good test taking skills, not great life taking skills.
This is why you always send a follow-up email to Charles.
I had I had a flip side question of how you deal with both sides of something. Oh, that's it. Okay. My wife is
a goddess amongst us.
True. And as most gods are, she's a little crazy. She has ADHD and some other stuff going on. But what's interesting, and these are both negatives, but they're the flip side of the same coin of negative, is she will talk about, before she really knew that she had stuff going on, she talked about how she just felt lazy and this and that and the other and was so lazy. But then she'd get into this work cycle and she's doing so much. I'm like, you've got to sit down, just relax. You've been going for like 6 hours straight from one project to the next project to the next project. And it's just this negative dichotomy of, well, I can't get anything done. And if I stop working, I'll never work again. Or it's that, well, suck it up, quit being lazy, mentality. How do you deal? And to me, it's that same, it's a yin yang of negativity. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, that stuff right there, like that's like 100% like executive function stuff.
So executive function is that's thinking about doing things. Is that what that is? Executing on an idea.
Yeah, there's like a lot of components to executive function. Like if I had my diagrams in front of me, I really like this wheel that like breaks it down between like ability to start and stop tasks, ability to like finish a task. It's motivation for tasks. Like there are so many different pieces of it. And sometimes we're able to start a task, but we're not able to start and stop it until it's finished. And sometimes we're just not able to start it at all. And like the components of that, like, is where I encourage a lot of people who are neurodivergent and have these issues to like get support from like a therapist on how to specifically accommodate themselves. Because, people who have ADHD, autism, things like that aren't lazy. Like, it's not laziness. We want to do the things so bad. It's just sometimes we can't. Or sometimes we have the motivation, but it's not for what people want us to have the motivation for, right? Like, I can clean my entire house to avoid doing my notes, I
think you just hit a hot button with Thyro with grading.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. I will do anything before I grade.
She will destroy her air conditioner, so she has to pay for somebody to come fix it instead of grade.
Look, if we were on a maintenance plan, and if that man wasn't here today, our upstairs unit would have probably flooded in about a week. So I will pay that money and be happy for it today.
Yep.
Yeah, that's big damage.
Yeah, celebrate we have a ceiling.
Yeah. And an air conditioner. Because if it goes out, that's $4,000 or $5,000. That's a lot.
Oh yeah, no, we know that because we had to place one this last year. See the smile on my face. Okay, anyway,
but the joys of owning a home, Nick.
What just happened was ADHD. Hi, that was a squirrel. Where's my squirrel? I actually have a squirrel.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it's actually like really helpful to like follow your squirrels.
Yes.
A lot of times like neurodivergent people do better if we follow our squirrels. If it's like, I'm going to do 5 minutes of sweeping the kitchen, I halfway through realize I need to switch the laundry, go and switch the laundry. And then you realize you need to take a shower, and you take a shower. And while you're in the shower, you are like, oh, I got to clean this shower. And then you clean the shower, and you come back downstairs, and you're like, I was sweeping the kitchen. So you finish sweeping the kitchen.
That's
and
exactly how I do it.
Sometimes when we take the pressure of ourselves off to finish an entire task, we actually get way more done and feel a lot better about it.
And drive our husbands crazy.
My wife, she will go from just being locked in the doom scrolling on TikTok to needing to do 5 million things before we go to bed sometimes, and then go to this just this nitty gritty that there's your squirrel of mass distraction, right? Yeah, that's nice. But there's these things, jewel art. It's kind of like paint by numbers. It says these tiny little jewels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I say tiny, it is tiny. And she will sit for an hour just doing that stuff, and it definitely puts her in a happy place and calms her. And it's hard for me to understand that, because I flipped to another part, Gen X, born and raised, and I did overcome a lot of my issues by sheer willpower. Overcome is not the right word. I found ways to cope and get life to do what I needed to do. And it taught me a lot of hard lessons. I was very alone for a lot of my life, but it strengthened me up. Cause you might need to, sorry, she's trying to get us a link for these sites. Email it to me, and I'll
drop
get
it in the Discord.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, drop it in the Discord message.
Send it to me there.
To Tyra, and she'll put them up. Because the way the settings are, it blurs out people just putting up websites.
Oh, we'll just in case you were being naughty, they don't let you.
Yeah. But what is your take on this theory that in today's age, it is culturally cool and almost a pop culture, like I want us to have an issue, like, oh, I need therapy? Is that something that you think is a perception, or is there a little bit of that going on in today's world?
It's kind of an interesting thing, because like pop psychology things, which are just like, therapy terms and things that are like really big in the media and become like buzzwords and things like that, like can be really distressing for some people, and be helpful and beneficial in other situations, because sometimes it's like, okay, well, I saw this person on TikTok talking about their experience, and it made me realize that I also do that, and maybe I could get some support for it and it could be helpful. But then there's the side that's like the whole like WebMD, I feel bad now, I have cancer because I've looked at all this stuff, right? It's like that sort of thing where it's like suddenly now we're self-diagnosing everything. And so it's like, to some degree, it can be like, helpful to have, these informations and people's stories and stuff too. But then sometimes, especially for, anxiety brains, they can run away with that information and it can become really detrimental. But I definitely, I don't know if more people think they have, diagnoses and mental illnesses and stuff now than used to think that, or if we just have more access to seeing them talk about it, because because of how social media is, and also there's less of a stigma. And so where it used to be like, you feel like you're like crazy and a horrible person for going to therapy and getting help. Now it's just like, well, have you talked to your therapist about that? And like everyone's like so cool with it that it's totally a different universe for it. Like I didn't even know what a therapist was when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, same. They saw some stuff on TV, and there's always, the $200 an hour lay on the couch and whatever stuff. Mm-hmm. I struggle as a parent. We have 4 kids, and the 2 older kids went through some stuff in their life that, okay, I can see where you could use some help. You could talk to somebody, and I'm never gonna be that person to stop them. And I think I've talked about it before. It's like, sometimes I won't always express my opinion, because I know that can be detrimental as well, but I can have my opinion of, I think some of this is just teenager crap, and some of it is just a lack of perspective of, no, real pain is this, what you're going through is whatever, but it is what it is. I'm always going to get you help if I can. But the struggle I came with was a little bit of that. But then when my middle son saw my older 2 go through stuff, and it was a whole different thing. He was like, "Oh man, I got anger issues and I'm mad." I'm like, "You're 10, man. You're 10 and you really don't." And because you don't go to public school and you haven't done, and then we got in a little bit of therapy, or counseling or whatever it was, but it was a game to him, or it seemed like it, right? And that's where I struggled as a parent. It's like, do I empower what I perceive as a weakness, right? It's like, oh, I have to have something wrong with me so I can go do this. I see other people around me doing that, or do I just let them go and figure it out, or where's the in between? Because obviously I'm torn on that.
Yeah, right. Well, I always say, like, like the worst diagnosis I can give someone is being 15 years old. Like, being a teenager is so freaking hard, right? And hormones are crazy and everything is crazy and the world around you is crazy. And, you're trying to figure out how you fit into everything. And so, when you bring the self-pathologizing and stuff element into it, kids are already trying to figure out how they fit into the world. And so a lot of times it can make things more confusing because it's like, well, especially because, you can't even diagnose personality disorders until someone's over 18. And I could go on a whole soapbox about how I feel about those anyway, as far as a diagnosis goes. But you see teenagers who are like, oh, well, I'm borderline personality disorder. Oh, I'm bipolar. Kids saying things like this. And it's like, you haven't even lived enough life and adjusted to how you are with the hormones in your body to know if you're those things. There are a reason those diagnoses can't be given until you're a legal adult, is because we have to see how you even out.
Yeah. Hormones are, as a woman of a certain age, hormones are crazy. I feel bad for teenagers. I feel bad for women in my group because you don't know what's a hormone and what's reality sometimes. And I think particularly when you're a teenager and you don't have any life experience to help you sort that out, it can just be overwhelming just growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do look back and there's a lot that was ignorant, being a lack of knowledge, ignorant about, when I grew up in the late 80s and the 90s and that kind of thing, just suck it up, buttercup, and those kind of things. But I also look back at, right. Yeah. But I also look back at some of that going, man, though, it was teenager crap. Some of it absolutely was like, oh my God. I remember sitting under a blanket talking to this girl because she didn't want to go out with me. And I was all distraught. And then my parents came and knocked on, of course, using the portable phone, right, that we had. So, Nick, we used to have plug phones into the wall. And then we got fortunate. We got ones that we could actually walk around the house without a cord. It was the best.
I grew up with a home phone. I know.
Oh, okay. So I started to judge
we have to check these things.
But I remember my parents knocking on the door and saying something to me, and I pulled back the cover, and the overhead light was still on, and it was just a whole different perspective. I was in all this darkness, and I felt like nobody could hear me, and yet, of course, everybody could hear me, and the lights were on. It was weird, but it's like, okay, it's dumb teenager stuff. It's so hard to find the difference because there definitely were things I could have used a real therapist or counselor or whatever to talk through and all that. And hello, Sarah Rose, and hello, Kayla Masters, for jumping in here. If you have any questions, it is ask a. I love how you jump right into it every time too. It just gets you there. But we're talking mental health and therapy and direct questions, and so I've monopolized a lot of this. Tara, do you have some questions or some theories?
Some theories. Oh, those are both good ones. I wasn't ready for that, Charles. I was just typing in the chat.
Yes, questions are welcome. Please drop them in.
Please drop them in the chat.
Okay, here's a question while you think about it. Nick,
okay, good,
are you the Broadway version or the movie version?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm kind of a conglomeration because I do the red button up, like the cartoon version, but my suit's more Broadway version.
I really miss that cartoon too. It was good. I was very excited when I saw it. So way back in the day, everybody, Nick, you may actually remember this, maybe not, but when the new season, the fall season of cartoons was coming, you would wait up on a Friday night and it'd be a special on all the channels to see what the next morning, Saturday morning cartoons were going to be. And when I saw the Sandworms come out and Lydia, That was the coolest thing. I thought it was a lot of fun. It probably doesn't hold up. I don't know. So Sarah Rose said you should come to the theater photo shoot.
If
Oh,
there's
that'd
one
be
thing
fun.
that's consistent, Sarah Rose is like the theater cheerleader.
Yes.
We love her
Yes.
for it.
Nice.
So have you thought of anything you'd like to
I did
mention?
I did finally have a
Okay.
question. So living through pandemic, I think exacerbated anxiety for many of us, myself included. What are some techniques that you can suggest for people suffering with anxiety to kind of, if you see it coming on, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, yeah, the pandemic was just such a crazy like
It's like
global
another,
trauma in general that brings up like so much from people from being like removed from their like real life and real world and way that we knew things. So it really does like spike that. But as far as like things that can really like help with anxiety and stuff like that is sometimes it can really help to have like like an ice pack or something like that you can have
oh,
access to put dead center of your chest right here, which is where your like vagus nerve runs. And that's really connected to your anxiety response. And so sometimes when you can ice that, it can help like lower those levels of elevation and calm you.
wow.
Or like another thing with temperature is like they're like called tip skills through dialectical behavior therapy. And what that's all about is the fact that like our bodies and our nervous system is like giving us all this energy, right? It's like there's an emergency, like something bad is going to happen, we're bad, like we're in some kind of like spiral like that. But if you can take and put your face into like a bowl of cold water, or do really intense exercise or something that switches your body out of think and stress mode and into, oh my gosh, I'm so cold, or oh my gosh, I'm running so fast. It's like turning your nervous
Okay.
system off and back on again. And so you like literally like reset it.
Okay. I love the ice thing, by the way. That's,
Yeah.
I'm going to totally use that.
Yeah,
I could
absolutely. And they make like stuffed animals that can have inserts in them
Mm-hmm.
that you can either heat up, but you can also put that insert in the freezer. And so you can have like a
Ah,
cuddly little like comforting buddy that can also be icing your vagus nerve.
I am all over that. Okay, excuse me.
don't leave yet. Don't leave yet.
So, okay, so those are great, but what do you do if you're in the middle of Dragon Con?
Oh, if you're in the middle of Dragon Con, yeah.
I mean, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a huge advocate for just like stepping away, and like I use the term like checking in with your body a lot without like explaining what that is. But, essentially like move away from the crowds and all the overstimulation and stuff. If you get overstimulated from noise, maybe bring noise canceling headphones or earplugs. I recommend keeping like, a fidget something in your pocket that can help like regulate sensory things. But move away from the crowd, and when you're actually away from other people's energy, be it in a bathroom stall, be it just like outside on the side of a building, like take a breath and draw your attention from like the top of your head, like all the way down through your body to your feet. And especially if you're in a cosplay, you might realize that your body's asking for something that you're not giving it. And unfortunately, sometimes that's take those contact lenses out, or take that wig off, or don't wear those shoes. And it can be really hard to realize we need to adjust our costumes to accommodate ourselves. But sometimes just snatch it, Like,
Yeah. No, I'm totally down with that. Sarah actually has a great question. What would you do if you're somewhere you can't leave? Like you're in the middle of a panel or something
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
you might be on stage.
Yeah, and so sometimes that's where like grounding stuff can really come in, where it's like, let me really tune into my senses.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of like the spiral of the thoughts that are going on, the chaos is crashing down, maybe take a second and like, okay, can't really see my hands here, but like I'm feeling the side of my chair, right? And it's like, okay, so now I'm going to notice this is suede, right? And now I'm going to plant both of my feet firmly on the ground. So I'm like feeling the ground supporting me. So I'm a little more secure, right? Maybe I'll grip the sides of my chair like really hard to remind myself that I'm in control of my body. maybe I'll notice, what do I smell in the room? Can I smell someone else's perfume? Am I able to hear the AC unit running?
We only
Sometimes
wish.
you can like, and so sometimes you can like connect to your senses, and that can help you like settle back into yourself in the moment, rather than just being like, I can't, it's too much, You decide what you're going to focus on. Right. And so
Right.
like, we're going to like pick one.
I love that. I use that a lot because when I teach, sometimes it'll happen. And so I'm always trying to focus on what's that one thing that I can do right now and be successful. Because as soon as you're successful at that one thing, the next thing is,
Could you make the one thing you're successful at panicking?
Stop, Charles.
It just cycles into like, well, I'm really good at freaking out right now. I must be doing all right. Today on to the next one.
Well, I mean, you jest, but I mean, maybe you couldn't do that if you're on a panel. But I mean, if you're like at your house and you're getting super overwhelmed because you're like late on a deadline for something or something like that, and you're like stressing the heck out, like freak out. Go in a room where no one can see you and just freak the heck out. Like, in a way that's safe, obviously. Don't hurt yourself, don't punch holes in walls, but like pound like your fist on a pillow, scream, lose your mind, like throw your hands up in the air. And so usually we'll hit a point where we're just like, this is so absurd. And when you're able to like get into that, like you expel the energy you need to get out. And then when you're able to be like, I am so absurd, being a grown man laying on the floor going, that sometimes that helps you cheer up, because you're just kind of like, all right, that's done.
Sarah says, thank you. As someone who suffers from panic attacks, it helps, especially because I do a lot of panels. And Kaz says, I usually cry. We talked about that last week, being a therapeutic release as well.
I yell.
Do you?
Yeah.
I know. I'm glad I've never seen him. I've never seen him.
Nobody really ever wants to see me angry. Trust me, because sweetness and light is great. But if I'm mad, you have crossed a line that you should not have gotten close to, because it's so far down the road. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for. My favorite is to be parked somewhere, screaming in the car with heavy metal on, banging the steering wheel.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And like banging the steering wheel, because like, that's something that's not going to break, right?
Right.
And you
can not with me.
Well, it could. Be careful.
Charles could probably.
Right. But there's a way to like, kind of let that energy out, especially with that music. Two of my favorite things to like let energy out is like, if say you're stuck in like a panel and you're like, I can't get out of here. If the chair doesn't have arms, grab like the side of the chair, like down by where you're sitting, and like grab it as hard as you can and push your feet into the floor as hard as you can and tense up every muscle in your body. Just like, and obviously, don't have to make a noise, but just like,
while you're smiling,
like tensing it all up, and then just like let it go. Because that's a way to get that like anxious or panicked energy out of yourself without having to be like, I gotta leave the room, and then people are gonna be looking at me, and people are looking at me, I feel worse.
And that makes it worse. Right.
Yeah.
You can trust some people around you and maybe set up some patterns and some help.
Sure.
Like case in point, if I happen to be like the moderator, you just talk to me before and have a little signal of some kind that the moderator can see, and then move around. If you're the moderator, you need to have somebody you trust as well, that you can just maybe put your hand on their arm or something, and they know to fill in the gaps and keep talking. So no, because I think part of that is as you start to feel that lack of control, right, and getting into the panic attack, getting into those moments, I think some people's brains start feeding into everybody sees it, and now it's just multiplying worse. So if you have somebody to hold on to physically, or at least know that they can distract everybody and take the attention over on that side of the table, hopefully that would help some.
Yeah, like communicating it ahead of time and letting people know, like, hey, I might have a need. And sometimes just knowing that we could have support if we need it makes us not need it, right? Because you're not going it alone.
And always figure out which panelist is going to be the one that won't shut up, and toss the question to them to give yourself enough time to breathe, and cut them off and send them on.
Again, if I'm on your panel, I'm your guy.
That's what I say. Ed Charles could be your guy.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we're hydrating and Charles is not.
I'm Mountain Dewing. Is that count?
Is that
Doesn't
Mountain?
count.
I'm
Yeah.
iced teaing, if I'm honest. And
Mountain Dew's dehydrating actively as we speak. So there's that. I had something, Tyra. I lost it again.
oh,
Hey.
we know that person.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay. See where I'm really bad at things. Is it Cassie or Casey? Because I think it's Casey. But please,
we've been having discussions about this
because I'm confused. I'm always confused.
and he
That's what-
confuses me because
Yeah.
I'm blonde.
Yeah.
I'm getting my pink reinstalled at the end of the month.
Hey.
I still love that term reinstalled there.
I didn't come this way.
So everybody thinks they have things under control to some point. And honestly, those of you like Tyra who says she's a hot mess, guys, not really. You have a lot more in control in your life and going than you think because you're self-aware. But everybody needs that moment and that time. And so, Nick, I'm gonna tell a little story about how do you build a way to listen to the people around you and know that they got your best interests at heart. And the little illustration I have is I hired a personal assistant at work back in January and just been getting to know her and this and that and the other. And the other day I had a really bad meeting. Not bad. It's just very stressful. I didn't have the answers I wanted. And that really irritates me. And I didn't respond well to some of the questions. And because it just felt unbalanced to a certain point, whether it was or not. And I wasn't death spiraling because I'm really good at that. I'm really good at just kind of capstone, but I have to that pressure valve. So I'm like talking about this, talking about that. And actually, she's not a personal assistant. It's what she's supposed to be. She's really an office administrator. She's the little boss, as everybody calls her. She opened up my humidor, grabbed a cigar, grabbed her lighter, and shoved it in my face and said, "Come on, let's go outside." And I was like, okay. I just listened because I've learned to I don't know how I quite got there, but I've learned to listen to my wife and like Tony in the past. If somebody says, "Hey man," like every once in a while, something was going off at DragonCon. We were setting up and I was frustrated. Tony just came over and just handed me a pen. He said, you okay, man? I didn't even ask what it was. Like, yes, I am. And then Joe came over and was like, "What's up?" And Tony's like, "Come here, come talk to me, Joe." Just pulled him away for a minute. And I've learned to trust, when people see, because I have resting, I'm going to kill you face. I don't know what it is. I mean, if I'm a little tired or if I'm thinking about 5 things, it looks like I'm going to murder somebody. So the people who don't know me that well, are you okay? But the ones who do know me know that that's just me working. When they still come up, I listen. So how do you, because I don't know quite how I got there. How do you build that way to learn how to listen to people?
Yeah, it can be tough to build your community and to have the people who really know you and are attentive to those things. But I think one of the things that's really important is identifying what your values and stuff are and finding people who also have those same values and the same amount of respect, and then, people that you can feel safe telling this is something that I might need. With the people that I'm with, I'm typically just hey, if you notice that I'm getting agitated and I don't notice it first, you probably just need to play music for me. Put on a song that that I like, I'll dance to it and then I'll be fine. It's just something that I know regulates me, and the people who are closest to me know that too. But yeah, really how I found that was just by having people that I was very clear with of I value honest communication. I value being really clear with boundaries and stuff like that, and finding people who don't just say that they believe in those things but actually do. And sometimes that's tough because we all like to think we're good communicators and we all like to think we have these certain values, but whether we actually do or not is to be seen.
It can be a lot. And now we're talking about some mental health issues, and we're talking about some things. But what about, because I don't know that the WHO has a classification for imposter syndrome, right? Or that extreme self-doubt. How do you help people address that, especially in creators, right? You heard Tyra, she gave a creator's version of an amen right there. Oh, yeah, that was her amen on that one. Yeah.
Well, and I think imposter syndrome and self-doubt are 2 different things.
They are.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, they are. But they're I think they're kind of in the same neighborhood. and they
They're
can have the
friends.
same crushing. Yeah, yeah. They're tag team partners to crush you and
They
to pin you
can.
for the
Feature.
championship there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, imposter syndrome is a really interesting thing, and one of the therapists that I like super like look up to is Dr. Janina Scarlett, and she came up with like superhero therapy and stuff. Like she has like a treatment manual and
Of course
everything.
you did. That's a super villain
Love
name.
that.
And she's amazing. But yeah, she talked about it in like a reel that she made on Instagram, I think. But the fact that like imposter syndrome is like just an indicator that we actually are the right person for the thing, because we care so much, right? We
Right.
care so much that we're afraid that we're going to mess it up or that we're not going to be right for it. That's what makes us the perfect person for it, because that's what makes us the person who will show it the attention and care that it deserves and isn't just going to like bulldoze through. And she made a point to that effect, and I thought that was like so profound and makes so much sense.
Go. No, I was kidding.
I just want to say I love that too. I think that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Because the
And
only
it-
things that I have imposter syndrome about are the things that I super care about or I'm super invested in.
And by simple definition, and please tweak it as needed, imposter syndrome is I don't belong here. No matter what the facts and the evidence to the contrary are, you somewhat believe you don't belong here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
And
glad I haven't had that one. I definitely have had the self-doubt. Like every time I do something and it's amazing, you get that high, and then you come off of that high, you're like, wasn't that good? Did I overstep? You know, sometimes it's to the point of like, were they laughing at me because I was bad, or were they laughing with me because I was good? You know, and it's that voice can get you. So how do you help people who get into that trap, right? Not that instant moment of it, but they've told themselves so much that there's a self-doubt there that nothing I do is right, that's their reality now. How do you help somebody like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we just live our perceptions, and what we believe about things. And so when it comes to stuff like that, I encourage people to like pay really close attention to what you're agreeing with, and like actually like, like fact check it and see if you actually agree. Right? And so a lot of times it's like I have self-doubt. So maybe it's like I have self-doubt and I think I'm annoying because when I was a kid, peers told me I was annoying or people didn't want me around or things like that, right? And so, sometimes I have to like check myself and be like, do I actually agree with that? Like, do I actually do things to intentionally bother people? Am I actually annoying? And then I have to remind myself, like, no, my friends enjoy having me around. I know how to read social cues. You know what I mean? Things like that. Like I've learned I'm not the same way I was as a kid, and I'm not going to agree with that anymore. And so a lot of times it's kind of checking in and being like, are you agreeing with something negative someone said about you from the past? Or are you agreeing with like what's actually true?
And sometimes it even comes down to who told you that, because sometimes it was an impression that you got or a thought you had about yourself based on something else that was going on, and that's tough.
And it just sticks with you sometimes.
Yep.
Do you have something, Tyra, that stuck with you?
I have a lot that stuck with me because I was a curvy girl in as a little child, so I'm still a big girl. So I fight that every day. I do have a question though. So I think a lot of us, particularly women, though there are some men too, that get stuck on the I'm sorry train. Like I say I'm sorry way too much. Do you have any suggestions on how I can get off the I'm sorry train? Because I really would like to.
Yeah, well, that's a huge one. Like that a lot of people struggle with, and a big thing for addressing that is like again, like taking that like step back and thinking like, do I actually have guilt for something? Okay. Because if I actually have guilt for something, meaning I did something wrong, I caused harm, there was a mistake, something like that, like on a fundamental level, then that's typically when an I'm sorry is warranted, right? Like I'm sorry I hurt you, I'm sorry I missed the deadline, things like that, right? But sometimes we take a step back and we look at it and it's like, okay, I'm not actually feeling guilt. I'm maybe feeling shame. And shame is something that's like put on us by society, by other people. It's a feeling that we are bad, not that we've done something bad. And so a lot of times it's like, I'm going to say like, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a very benign example. It's just like just saying like, oh, I'm sorry for the late response to your email, right? Like there was no harm that was done. It's just sorry for the late response to your email. And it's like, do you really need to put an I'm sorry there? Or would it be sufficient to just give your point? Or would it be sufficient? In a lot of cases, it's actually better to thank them for their patience or thank them for what they've done. Like recognize their accomplishment rather than put up your own, like, is iniquity the right word? I don't know. Own place that you like messed up,
Right.
And so, yeah, sometimes it's like, I have a really close friend who's like so good at being like, thank you for waiting on me, instead of like, I'm sorry I took a long time.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And so then I'm just like, well, you don't have to thank me. I'm a patient guy.
Yeah. That I'd read that somewhere in the last, I think, year, maybe 2 years, is that saying I'm sorry is a place of weakness. It automatically conveys I did something wrong. You need to forgive me, otherwise we're out of balance. Whereas that, thank you for your patience, thank you for waiting. I appreciate you being here for me. Those kind of things. That coming with that positivity and gratitude keeps it more level, and still, like you just did the whole body language. Like it makes the person still feel like they're doing something awesome because you are a patient guy and we really appreciate you.
I have a follow-up question because of Kaz. Kaz said, sometimes I say I'm sorry, meaning I'm sorry you had to go through that. I've been trying to practice, like when somebody loses somebody, not saying I'm sorry, trying to find out another way to address that. So for me, what I say is, my heart hurts for you and your loss. But do you have any other suggestions for when you're in that situation and we automatically go to that I'm sorry, but it's really not an I'm sorry moment?
Yeah, I kind of see that as a different thing entirely than like, saying like I'm sorry too much, because it's almost like, I'm sorry in that situation is like a societal trope,
Right.
kind of like saying like bless you when somebody sneezes. It's
Sneezes.
kind of
Yeah.
like in our culture we say I'm sorry that happened. But if that doesn't feel like something that's like good or productive, there are definitely ways to like change it, like saying like you did, like my heart hurts for you, or like I'm sending love to your family, or
That's a good one.
you know what I mean, like things like that.
It and it shouldn't. It does drive me a little irritated when somebody who's just telling a story, and lost my mom, or my mom passed away, or whatever. And obviously, from the context of the story, it was 2 years, 3 years. How they're telling it, it wasn't yesterday, and they're okay. And then somebody interrupts and goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss." Like, the showman is like, "Shut up!" They were in the middle of telling a good point, and you had to be all, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." That was 10 years ago, and I don't know. I go into this stupid diatribe and rant. And
The
so,
answer is
what
they had a
advice do you have
great
for
life.
ranters? What'd
Would
you
you
say,
have
Tyra?
advice for what?
Ranters.
Oh, rant. He
Because I
needs
go
to.
to these diatribes, and thank you, Tyra.
I'm here to keep Charles real.
Well, I would start with, thank you for listening to my story, and not I'm sorry I was talking for so long.
Oh, that
What
was
is
awesome.
one of the most common misconceptions you see about people, about themselves? Like, I'm not good enough. I don't know. So, something that people tend to bring more often. You're like, you got that from a story, or that's just not true. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of neurodivergent people on purpose, and like one of the most common things is just like I'm annoying or I'm too much.
Mhm.
And that like that's like one of the quickest things you can say to someone in front of me to get me to lose my cool, because it's like we're not too much, we just are, right?
Right.
you know, and there are people who are on our level and keep pace with us, and there are people who that makes them uncomfortable. And so, you know, if you're just, you know, being yourself, like having a good time conversing with something, and somebody thinks that you're too much or that you're annoying, that's because it's hitting some kind of wall in them. And you're either confronting them with something and they're like, well, I couldn't be that free and open, so I don't want you to. Or it's hitting a place of intolerance in them, or it, you know, it sometimes it's even a codependency response of, when you act like that, I feel a certain way, so I need to stop you from acting like that, right? And so I like to remind people that, like, you know, it has nothing to do with you. Now, if you feel like you need to work on social skills and stuff, great, let's work on them, you know, in a way that feels good for you, but not because you feel like you're like messed up and no one could possibly enjoy hanging out with you.
That is volumes right there.
Mm-hmm.
That how you said it hits that wall in them. One of the shorthand pop culture versions I've heard is, if you wouldn't take advice from somebody, why would you take criticism?
Yep.
That's a good one.
That's that honestly, that's been one of my harder parts. I know I'm the right guy of podcasting and I'm loud. I know I'm out there, but part of it definitely, when somebody says something, even if it's a flyby, if it's negative, it really drills in. And I take it, I was like, oh, do I really need to change something up? And it's been a hard thing for me to fight through that, my own inner voice of going, well, okay, it wasn't just my inner voice. I got told a lot growing up that I was big, I was loud, I had to control my strength. You know, I was gonna, the implications were I'm gonna kill somebody by accident because I'm King
You
Kong
were
in a China
Elsa.
shop. Yeah. I was, well, okay. Let's really go to my childhood. I was Grape Ape. Okay, so you know, but yes, also for the newer generation that works. So some of that is there, is like, but nobody's telling me that I'm too much. Case in point, I had a really, well, I thought it was gonna be a hard meeting with some of my staff members not a lot long ago, because they weren't doing the job they needed to do, and it pissed me off, because not at them, but at me for not being able to just go, hey, I need you to do this, and here's where, and just make it plain and easy and factual. So I let it build a little bit. I mean, we discussed, we knew it was coming, and I said, that's like, look, I'm about to be an a-hole here and give you some really hard advice, but I'm just going to do it because I don't know anything else. And so they waited for it, and I went bam, 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 and I hit them both, and then they went, you're not being an asshole. You're these are just factual points you're making. Like, well, good. Now go out there and do it. But that, I mean, I was so negative about it, and this was a month ago. You know,
Yeah.
it's weird how it's. See, this is what Nick does. Nick's lets you work through it yourself, and then you're like, "Thank you, Nick. Here's $5 million because he's worth it. He's worth it."
But I mean, quite literally, that's what therapists do. You know, like we're just here to just be like, okay, and here's a question, and you know the answer. I promise, it's in there.
Yeah.
Do you have a therapist?
I do, yeah.
Why? I mean, I'm not getting to your like personal, but as a therapist, I've heard that good therapists have therapists. But why is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for therapists to have therapists, because I mean, you know, one, it's important for therapists to have, like, you know, supervision and consultation so that we can talk about like things that we're struggling with clinically, but then also just to have a therapist so that we're dealing with our own crap and not bringing it into the therapy room, right? Because if I'm really raw from something and I'm really struggling, and I go into a room and a client brings something up that might be that same thing, if I don't have a place to work on that in my own life, a lot of times that's where like countertransference comes in, where it's like, now I'm going to use this for my therapy. And that's where a lot of therapists go wrong, and a lot of harm is done to clients when it's like, I'm bringing my stuff into the room. And I like to be really clear about that, because I'm a therapist who believes in a lot of self-disclosure. Like, I believe it's super healthy for me to be like, okay, you know, I have ADHD and autism. I'm a trans man. These are some lived experiences that I have. If I feel like it's relevant to what your experience is, so you know that you can trust me, right? And also know that you're not alone. But that's so totally different than being like, oh, you're bringing this in, well, now I'm going to talk about my issue, right? And some people will do that if they don't have another outlet for it, if they don't have a person that's their person to process things with.
All right.
Plus, I mean, you just get a lot of gunk, you know?
You need somebody to sort through no, that's not yours. That was theirs.
Put that
was
over there.
theirs. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have a week of hearing like the worst things in the world of people who have had the hardest weeks of their lives, and you hear about trauma that's just like unimaginable, and sometimes you just go home and you just feel so icky, and you need to be able to process that too.
So here's a question, because we're all going to be at con in a few months, 99 days. I'm freaking out. I know. I forgot to drop our 100-day post. What do you do to shake off? Like for me, I'm going to use incense, or I'm going to take a shower, or I'm going to do something like that to get rid of that energy that kind of sticks to us from other people. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine as a therapist, that's super important for you to do. How do you handle that?
Yeah. Well, especially when I worked at a psychiatric hospital, behavioral health hospital, as soon as I came through the door, my clothes would go straight in the washing machine. I would go straight in the shower, because it was like, I'm not dealing with any of the work stuff until I'm not dealing with any of the work stuff here. Like, I'm going fresh and clean into my evening. And so I'm a big fan of doing that. I'm a big fan of like listening to music that I really love, that's really positive and feels good on my way home. Driving with the windows down, like anything that I can do to kind of like break up that energy super helps.
I totally agree with those. I mean, I think that it's so important to realize how to get back to just being you and having your energy and not everybody else's energy connected to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And and sometimes you just have to come home and stand in the living room and buffer for a minute and just be like, where am I? Who am I? What am I doing? Let's eat food,
No, it's 100% true. I mean, I teach, so I end up with a lot of student energy. And amazingly, the elder students I teach sometimes can be the worst. And I'll come home at night and I really have to have a buffer between that for me.
How do you get to the point where you know what yourself is? Like you're talking about the buffer and that reset and that, but when somebody's maybe coming out of a bad situation or just trying to figure out who they are in the world, what are some signs that they can look for that says, no, this is me?
Well, that's where I'm a huge fan of going to like inner child work and stuff. That's where I'm a huge fan of being like, what did you like to do before the world got to you? And not everybody has access to those memories. But for those who do, sometimes it's really helpful to be like, okay, well, when I was a kid, I, just liked to play in the creek. And it's like, okay, maybe we need to go to the creek and see how it feels. One of the things that feels super healing to me is to just like make a snack, sit in the floor and directly in front of the TV and watch cartoons while I eat my snack. And sometimes that will just like help me like recenter into myself, because it's like, oh, well, I loved to do this as a kid, and that really feels good. And so a lot of times you can help find what's really you by looking to your child self. And a lot of times that's like a direct reflection of like who your highest self is.
What you got, Tyra?
I was just thinking of when I was a kid and I would watch PBS and I would get my little cheese and cracker plate and juice, and I felt so sophisticated. And I still do cheese and cracker plates.
Yeah. And sometimes we just need to have the like same snack that we had that was comfortable and familiar and have on a show like that, or sit in the floor, or just like, you know what I mean? Like be able to recreate some of that and see what comes up.
Yeah. I think for me as an adult, the thing I've realized is okay that I have stuffed animals.
Yes.
I love them as a kid. I have blankets because I was a big blanket girl. I think it's okay to embrace that part of us that was a child and say, it's okay to make that part of my adulthood as well. So
yeah. It's more than okay. It's healthy.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm lucky that I married somebody who loves those two things too and buys me teddy bears.
Oh,
he's a great guy.
I love it.
He can't even hear me right now because he never watches my stuff.
No, right? Now that's
most supportive man ever, but never watches.
There's a new niche for you, Nick. spousal counseling for creators, where it is like, yeah, my wife doesn't give two craps about what I do either. You know why she likes Dragon Con now? Because she gets to come and do what she likes to do, which is take care of people. She doesn't give a crap about the nerds or the nerdity that goes on there. She
Mike
likes to
gives a
feed
crap.
people.
He just doesn't listen.
He just doesn't listen. Yeah.
I am not a couples therapist. Very intentionally. I know that I am not currently in a place to be able to be unbiased. When couples are bringing stuff, I'm just like, okay, then leave. So I don't even mess with that.
Okay, so noted. We do not ask for couples consultations.
No, see, now I got a new game show that we should do once a quarter here on this channel, where Nick does podcast couples therapy, where his co-hosts to bring an issue from their show to it, and Nick gets to tell one of them to leave.
Or one of the co-hosts finally goes, you know, you need to leave. Oh no,
no, we're good. We are good. But I've definitely had some shows where we're like, oh yeah, let me and my partner come on to that game show.
Okay.
Oh my goodness,
we're fine.
We're just, yeah, you leave, Tyra. All right, so
what?
What? No.
F you.
No, you hang up.
Yeah. Oh, and see, now that's where we're going. It has been our hour, and it's gone by.
Sometimes
fast.
we pay attention to the hour, and sometimes we don't.
So yeah. Well, if you have more, Tyra, I'm not going to stop you.
So I think one thing that's important about mental health is speaking.
That's the show, everybody. Thank you. No,
what?
I'm sorry. See,
we're
this is where I leave.
We're headed for co-host counseling right now. Hi, let's talk about Charles. So what are your feelings? Oh, now he's okay. He separated us for a minute, like, you know. Crap, Charles. Now I forgot what I'm gonna say.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I wrote it down. I took notes.
Good.
So I think speaking it into existence, that little voice inside of your head, and trying to learn to reprogram it from the one that tells you negative things from your childhood to being the adult that says, I can do that. So that's my thought for the day, is speak it into existence.
Yeah.
Nick, would you say it's important to have some centering words, some thoughts that about yourself that help you find peace or strength or calm or whatever it is you're looking for in the moment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, having like mantras or affirmations or things like that can be super helpful. But the most important thing with that is you have to pick ones that you actually believe. Because if you think it's bullcrap, it's not going to help you. And so, like sometimes it's starting small and just like, sometimes it's just like, well, what if it wasn't the worst, right? Like, what if it didn't all go bad? Sometimes you have to start there. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, well, I can imagine that it could possibly maybe not be the worst that it could be, right? Like sometimes you have to start there.
I love that.
And then we're able to get to the point where we're able to be like, no, today is a great day. I'm qualified for my job. I am good at what I do. Everything is working out for me. I am wealth. I am success. I am health. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to get to the point where you're able to believe those things. But saying affirmations that don't mean a hill of beans to you will do nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, it has to be something you really want.
Mm-hmm. And tape it to the mirror.
Yeah.
So you see it first thing. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
I have like the thing that I try to remember about teaching. I have it taped to my monitor, which is, set them up.
Don't kill the kids.
No, it's get the hell out of their way.
All right.
Give them the space, give them the tools, and they get the hell out of their way, because they'll, they can figure it out. I know they can figure out. They have to figure out they can figure it out.
Love that.
So get the hell out of your way. Get out the hell out of your own way. There we go. I probably needed that.
I've learned to try to bring the answer when I don't know something. Let's find out. I like just something goofy as the other night. My youngest daughter asked me if I had another fan. Through situations, I ended up with 3 or 4 box fans and some oscillating fans, and I'm always going to store them. I'm a huge fan of fans.
Awesome.
I like staying cool. Yeah, they're awesome. So my first thing was like, no, I don't think so. And I stopped myself. Well, let's go find out. And sure enough, we went into the little barn that we store them in, and there was one more left. And that's always been my knee-jerk reaction is if I just believe something, no, it's not there. And you just make up the answer without ever looking at the facts. So trying to find that motive, well, let's just see what happens. Let's find out. Let's just, instead of trying to guess the plot to the movie, let's just see where the movie takes us.
Mhm.
And that's it's a much happier place in life to be, honestly.
Yeah.
You should
It's
bring
a
those
lot
fans.
happier to not be white knuckling things,
Yes.
So one last thing, speaking of white knuckling, with Beetlejuice 2 coming out, how nervous are you that it's not going to live up to what you like?
No, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it'll be good. I'm excited for it. I typically am like, I'm cosplaying optimism, right? I'm like, it's good until proven otherwise. Like
And even then, do you think it would ruin your passion for the character?
No.
And that,
If it wasn't
see,
good,
that's
I
the
just
key.
wouldn't keep watching it over and over again.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
You just ignore that part. It's like it did not exist.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Yes.
we knew you had taste. I can't wait for the two of them to meet.
Okay.
Oh,
Here's another one. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
We both hit it at the same time.
Yeah. Nick, what are your thoughts on Pixar's Inside Out and the new one coming out?
Oh yeah, that's Inside Out is the one with all the little emotion characters, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I did see the first one, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was very heartfelt and very good. When I saw the first trailer for the second Inside Out, I was like, okay, but is anxiety an emotion? But then after the second trailer came out and they showed like all the other ones that they were introducing and stuff, I was like, okay, I think they're probably going to do this like really well on like blending how different things happen, in the body and in the mind and stuff. Because to me, anxiety is not an emotion. It's like a state of activation, right? It's like fight or flight response. And so It's like your body is turned on to like these like sensors and things like that, like danger, rather than like I'm actually like feeling something within me. But I think they'll probably handle it pretty well. And I thought the first one was really well done.
Well, they definitely can't do us any more dirty than they did by killing Bing Bong. I mean, so yeah, I know, right? There's the face, right? Even me, I'm like, that was just wrong. Why would you do that?
Let's not talk about it.
Right.
Okay.
I could talk so long about grief elements in media.
That
Oh my
could be
God.
an interesting episode.
So much grief.
So all right. Well, we definitely need to have you back on to talk more aspects of different things with everything. And if you ever get a spark, a sandworm in your eye, if you will, I don't know where I was going with
Ew.
that, but that was a stretch. It was a stretch, right? But I didn't get there.
Stop stretching.
Thank you for your lack of humor. I appreciate you, Tara. But basically, if you get the idea, if you'd like to do a takeover one night, bring somebody else on, come on your show, talk to you, whatever you want to do. The channel is
that
here.
way we can shut up.
And that is what is the design of this whole series, what we do on
Oh.
Wednesday nights. Yes.
No, I was pulling up the schedule. That
Okay,
was
cool,
my
gotcha.
that was my I need to do that.
The con goes on.
Yes.
Essentially is what this is for me, and what I want it to be for everybody is panels, is what I say now, Nick.
No, I'm laughing now because you said the con goes on, and so I immediately thought of your comment at the beginning of the video of condom, and I was like, well, the condom goes on.
And that's a great callback.
It was Beetlejuice.
There you go, blame it
Sure.
on Beetlejuice every time. I like it. So
Not safe for work is what we are.
you know what, that's exactly what the digital media track is to me. The experience is there's these moments. It's something that gets said and you're just gonna have to be there, and it becomes a thing every once in a while, or the entertaining conversations, or the things you didn't know that you learn. And so every week we try to do some aspect of that, so we open it up to everybody in our Discord, and that's I'll get that better rated. No, that's mine right there. That's
yours.
that Twitch.
It.
Where's the link tree? There's a
There
link
you
tree.
go.
All right,
Go to
link
our link
tree.
tree. It's been updated.
DC Digital Media Track. Nice. That will get you to the Discord, to all the socials that we have. But if you're in the Discord, just reach out to Tyra and say, hey, I would like to be on. I'd like to bring a panel. I'd like to do this idea. You're never alone. You're never alone here. There's always going to be somebody here to make sure the show runs. You do well. You'll never have to just figure it out on your own. Some people like to come on and just talk to Tyra. So I usually ask people to come on.
Charles.
Yeah. They'll come on when I ask them. I haven't had anybody just go, Tyra gets the love. And that's what Finkerbell deserves.
I have that mom energy. Like, it's a safe space. You are not a safe space.
Well, okay. But also, that was not my mom's energy. It was not a safe space. I was like, what are you talking
my
about?
My mom's energy. My mom was soft.
So what do we have coming up in the next couple of weeks?
So next week is an hour with Logan Jenkins. We're going to be talking to him. I just saw my name on there, so I guess I'll be here too. Excitement. I have no idea what's happening on June 5th. So if you want to be what's happening on June 5th, get in touch with me because I need something. June 12th is MC Williams. He'll be here talking about podcasting solo. There's a bunch of us that are going to be joining him. Juneteenth, I would love to have some of our wonderful blurs out there take over. So if you're out there and you fit that description, hit me up, or I'm going to be hitting you up. There you go. And I've already hit up Rob Roberts to get on here for our LGBTQIA plus annual panel that's going to be coming up on June 26th to celebrate the end of Pride Month. Because we are prideful.
And that's the National Pride Month. Of course, in Atlanta, we do it differently. So we'll be doing it again in October because that's our Pride is October. So
and Atlanta has a lot to be prideful of.
Yeah, it's quite a thing. So that's a bunch of awesome stuff. You can be here, or I'll just take care of Logan. I don't know what that's how
Logan. It could be fun.
It could always be fun.
We could throw things at each other.
We're not in the actual same location, Tyra.
I know.
So Nick, do you deal with delusions and false imagery there, or
Charles?
So, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay, Nick, where can we find you on the web?
No, cosplay? Nick, you're supposed to tell us where we could find you now.
I didn't hear the question.
I was yelling. I was yelling. I apologize.
You can find me on Instagram at cosplay.and.optimism.
And you can find that in our chat too.
Yeah, and you are also in our Discord for the DC Digital Media Track, so you can find Nick there. And of course, on at least so far 3 amazing panels, and I hope you get a few more if you wish. Some people 3 is good enough, but whatever you want, I hope you get it at Dragon Con. 99 days, you said, Tyra?
Yes. I'm not ready, and we haven't got our 3D printer up and running to be printing my husband's armor. So we got to get. I don't have time for this. Can we?
You're printing your husband's honor.
I know. In many ways, yes.
This is the way.
All right.
And for giggles, May 31st is the last day for pro and guest applications. Go to dragoncon.org, and it's under participate and guest.
Yeah.
And so pro and guest is the same thing.
Yeah, it's not exactly
same application. So I'm sorry, same
application, but make sure in this there's a section where you tell them you want to be a pro instead of a guest, and so make sure you read the description of what each is to help you.
Yeah. So thank you again, Nick. We very much appreciate it, and we did not hear any of your lovely across the street music, so it was all good.
Yeah, it's been nice and silent. I'm glad for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a blast. It was nice to actually meet you, Tyra. So.
Nice to meet you too. I'll be hitting you up for some more information for your spotlight on our social. Awesome. I got to get that going. Crap. Okay. 99 days till Dragon Con.
Where, Tyra, can they find you?
Where can they find me? There's my link tree, but I'm TyraBurton.com. I'm the Tyra Burton. There are other Tyra Burtons, and I don't like them. I'm joking. I'm sure they're nice people, but one of them has my Twitter account name. One day I will forgive her. Today is not that day. But you can catch me there. I'm bejeweled all over the place because, I I had to get that reference in because I haven't gotten one in tonight, Charles. So there we go. He has
Hi,
no
it's
idea
you.
what I
You're
just
the
did.
problem. It's you. It's okay.
It is. I'm the problem. It's me.
You can find all of my stuff at Linktree/RGOP42, which is not the Republican GOP. It is a rock out of podcasting. Shane, shame on you.
What's the 42 for?
Life, the universe, and everything. Always know
Oh.
where your towel is.
Okay.
So, all right, everybody. Okay, for those of you who don't know, go look up The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It is well worth the read, listen, or watch, or however you participate in. And that is that, everybody. We're going to be gone till next week. Thank you for participating.
Go be awesome together. Bye.